everyone, hope you're alright. Full disclosure, I'm actually in my period today and it's a bit cramp and carry on. The vlog that I did, which was the last video that I put up, actually took much longer than I anticipated. I've also kind of been feeling a bit down as well, so that kind of impacted on everything a bit, and my last two videos kind of flopped. Anyway, today's topic, and it will probably shocked you because I actually went on a date, and it's the first date that I've been on in 18 months. And the person I went on a date with, they don't know about my channel, and obviously it didn't work out because I wouldn't be talking about it otherwise. That's just how I roll. I wanted to think about the lesson that I could provide with my video. I think if I just tell this story time, I think it's going to sink in a bit with a lot of women and hopefully think about the right reasons for going on a date. So if you're new to my channel, basically I talk about my life, and last year was a bit of a shit show, and every time I liked someone they didn't like me back or it didn't work out, and things just, for one reason or another, things didn't work out. It was just horrible. So I definitely took a break from dating and just focused on my channel and other things. And I really wanted to get back into dating. So I didn't document it at the time, but I did a disastrous 2 weeks on POF, which were horrendous, where I literally got messages for the first week, and then after a week, just zero messages. It's always the same. I always get that initial push because I'm a new joiner, and then nothing happens. And after just 2 weeks, I realised I wasn't going to find anyone on POF, so I deleted POF. And I was just concentrating on me, not even thinking about dating, and I got a message out of the blue. And this was the person that I have talked about in my videos, but not in great deal. It was someone that I chatted to, and we had an eventual FaceTime. And on that FaceTime, I didn't really feel a spark. In my gut, I knew I don't feel a spark with this person. It's really hard to describe on camera without, obviously going into detail. But he was just doing passive aggressive messages to me. And I wasn't really interested, so we just stopped talking, and that was fine. And there was also the alarm bell for me that he just got out of a 7-year relationship. I was like, well, how long have you been single? And he said 6 weeks. And for me, that was just a massive red flag. I was like, no, I do not want to get involved. Goodbye, thank you. And that is what my voice of experience was saying. But he kind of talked me round, and he said, look, I was in this relationship 7 years. I hung on too long, really. It ended at the 5-year mark, and I should have left, but I didn't, and we continued for another 2 years. The way he explained it, I kind of understood, because I haven't been in a really massive long-term relationship. I can understand that you don't leave at the first sign of trouble. I understand that people hang on and they try and make things work. So I kind of thought, okay, I understand. And he said, look, I'm like everyone else. I just want to find someone. We realised it wasn't for keeps. So we ended things. And I kind of understood that. So that wasn't so much of a problem. But I thought, I'm just not really into this man. So we just stopped talking. And then a few months later, he texted me out of the blue, how are you? And I know. And I've even made videos on about it, of why men come back. And the number of reasons why men do this is because they're lonely or they've been dumped. And I knew this. I didn't pry too much, but something had happened. So that's why he'd reached out to Reliable Me. I guess I entertained it. I entertained the kind of the talking and the interaction, because I was acting from a place of weakness. I'd just come off this 2-week disastrous POF scenario where I couldn't find anyone. I was at a low place, wanting someone, and this person reached out and texted me. I said, hey, I'm in the area, do you want to meet up? And this person doesn't live near me, so I thought, why is this person in my area? And he said it was for work. Another red flag that I learnt from the rules is that If a man is seeing you just because he's on a business trip or happens to be in the area, it is not a good sign. He's doing it as I'm bored in the evening. He's doing it because he's just looking for some company, and you're not his main priority. It's not as if somebody has decided to see you on a whim. I need to explain this properly, but I knew it wasn't a compliment. But again, I just ignored my intuition and I went with it because I was acting from a place of lack. I was acting from a place of, I haven't been on a date of 18 months. Nobody likes me. Nobody wants me. I should just be grateful that someone has asked me out on a date. So we went on the date and he was just so wishy-washy, just not locking down this plan. And I just got so pissed off in the end that I was the one that booked the dinner date. And even at that point, girls, if you're the one booking the dinner date, you've already lost. You've already lost if you're booking the dinner date. But I was acting in such a place of lack of, I haven't been on a date of 18 months. This is such a bad sign on my self-worth. No one's asking me out. That I went on a date with a man that I was not physically attracted to just because I was acting from a place of lack. I went on the date feeling, well, he's a good man. I should be grateful that a nice, kind man has asked me out on a date. And I went on the date and I booked the meal. And something else that was weird that happened is that I booked the table and I said, this is the time. And he said, okay. And then he turned up like literally half an hour early to the date and said, oh, I've just gone in, I'm busy working. And that just put me in a really awkward position. I was thinking, who goes into a date half an hour early and just sits there? Anyone with a brain knows that you wait for the lady and then you go in together. I had to go in this restaurant on my own, walk down to the end. And I had to, at the start, I had to say, oh, I'm waiting for a friend. I wasn't going to say in front of everyone, oh, hi, I'm on a date. I just said, oh, I'm waiting for my friend. And it was bloody obvious that I was on a date. So I had to walk down this whole restaurant on my own, feeling like a complete knob, and sit down and have the date. And the date itself was actually fine. He was actually nice to talk to and we got on well. But the whole time I was just feeling this is a friend vibe. I'm not attracted to you. And even at one point he leaned in on the date and my whole body just said no. Like, he must have noticed. He must have felt it. I was just like, no. I just didn't want to have sex with him. That is the honest answer. And I don't use the term ick because I think that's something that 12-year-olds use. But I just wasn't feeling it. And the day itself, it was fine because I like to think that I can talk to people. And even if I go on a date and I know that this person isn't the one for me, I can still make it an enjoyable evening. And we talked about lots of different topics and it was fine. And then the awkward part of when the bill comes, and I offered to pay half, but he said, no, I'll pay. And that was that. But there is another thing, another weird thing. I don't know if this is me just being picky, but he paid with cash. And who pays cash these days at a restaurant? And I'm like, it's not 1975. For me, immediately alarm bells are ringing because for me, if a man pays with cash, that means he has something to hide. That means he has a joint account. That means he doesn't want to leave a trace of this date. And even my intuition was like all bubbling up. I was like, this person has something to hide. Something's not quite right. Why would you pay for a meal in cash? He said, oh, I just like paying with cash. And 5%, that could be true. But I just found it really unsettling. For me, I was thinking, a man that pays in cash doesn't want to leave a trace. A man that pays in cash has an agenda. They have a joint account. They have a wife. They have a girlfriend. And even then I was like, nah, this is not for me. So we said our byes and that was that. And then it was one of those times where you go on a date and you literally don't want the person to speak to you again. You're not sitting waiting by your phone, waiting for that text, because you don't want them to speak to you. And then 3 days later, he texted me and said, what's the meaning behind this silence? he just had a way of wording things that to me felt completely passive aggressive. The thing is, everyone knows that the man always messages after the date. That's just, everyone knows that. So I just had to be things. I didn't want to have to send this text, and I needed to be blunt with him because I've been on the receiving end in the past of people that haven't been honest with me. They haven't said, look, no, I'm not interested in you. They've just ghosted or ignored me, and it hurts. So I knew that I had to be the better person in this scenario, and I had to say, thank you for a lovely evening. Unfortunately, I didn't feel a romantic spark with you. All the best in the future. And I don't know, I expected him to say, no problem, had a lovely time, all the best. But he said nothing. So even in that moment, he wasn't the one for me. It really got me thinking of why I accepted this date in the first place. And it wasn't, like you say, for a free meal like some people portray in the media, because I was willing to pay my half and I offered to pay the half. I think for me, the reason I went on the date was for a number of reasons, but part of it was because I felt ashamed that I hadn't been on a date in 18 months. And I was scared that 18 months was going to roll over to 36 months. And like I said before, I felt that I had to be grateful that someone had asked me out, and I also didn't want to be rude, and I wasn't really sure how to cut off communication with this person because he was, a lovely guy, driven, had a lot going for him, travelled. On paper, this guy would have been perfect. And even at the end of the day, I found myself saying, why can't I just switch off that part in me? Why can't I just switch off that part, that sexual part, and just settle and be happy? Should I just pretend that I'm really into this person and not have the full package of a relationship? Maybe I'm not going to find someone. Maybe I just have to compromise, and that is going to be my compromise, is being with someone that I'm not physically attracted to. And I had to shake myself out of it and think, no, you're not doing that. For you, if you don't have the sexual connection with someone, then it's friendship, and you're worth better than that. And you're going to stay on your own until you find someone that ticks all those boxes. And if you don't find someone that ticks all those boxes, well, then you're going to be alone, and that's what you need to be comfortable with. And I told myself in that moment that I'm not going to go on any more sympathy dates. And I even told myself, and was joking with my brother, I was like, oh, back in the game. But I only went on the date because I hadn't been on a date for 18 months, and there was a bit of shame there. There was still a bit of shame there that I was holding on to, that nobody wanted me, and I was just holding on to that shame, basically. So that's why I went on the date, which is really sad. And I also went on the date because the person that I still like doesn't like me, and I had a hangover of that, and I went on the date for the wrong reasons. So the reason, that I'm telling this story time is just for you to be really clear of why you're going on a date. Please don't go on a date to get over someone else. Don't go on a date because you haven't been on a date in ages and you feel that you should go on a date. Because I only went on this date because I felt I should go on a date. Because I have so much internal messaging going on around me. Even my mum saying things like, you should just date someone that's ugly just to get experience. Even my mum will say things like this, which I have to just push away and think, no, only go on dates with people you want to be around. For the majority of people, you do have to go on a few dates, but on the flip side, I also don't ignore my intuition anymore. And for me, there were all these little signs which put together the walking in to the restaurant on his own and letting me walk in. I didn't think that was a gentlemanly thing to do. And as I say, paying with cash, which For a lot of people probably think you're just making a mountain out of a molehill. He kept wanting to see my channel and I kept saying, no, I'm not comfortable. I don't want you to see my channel. I want you to know the real me first, because like I've said before, people, they see my channel and they binge watch about 20 videos and they think they get this idea of who I am. But at the end of the day, it's a snapshot of who I am. No one can really know who I am just on camera. That's why I've been decompressing that. And I feel like I said, I went on a sympathy day. Yeah. I feel like that's probably the end of the story time. But it is what it is. You go on a date, it doesn't work. At least we met each other in real life to see if we liked each other or not.